on my phone. So you're exactly right about that, brother. But go ahead.
Because technology means to take or minus knowledge. So when you say love the technology, you love your social networks and all your iPods and your touch screens and your robots and all that stuff to come, it's going to be the opposite effect for humankind. Technology is basically taking knowledge. You become more stupider. The more stupider you become, the more you depend on other outside forces to take care of you. You depend on companies and corporations to take care of your corpse, basically referring to your body. So corporations take control of your body. And that's what technology is basically doing, because the spell speaks for itself. Unfortunately, since most people don't have time because they've been busy, you know, they have their noses in their books and they have their noses at work and all type of other situations, they have no time to realize that the spells that they're trying to use to free themselves is actually making sure it's a reverse effect. Why would I say that? When you study the ancient language of Medinecher, Medu meaning the words, Necher referring to nature, so when you study Medinecher, you're not supposed to study a book, you're supposed to study nature. Most of the information that is given you, I did exactly what the ancestors said. You study the words in nature. Nature is not found in a book. I always recommend people to go to the zoos or travel to nature, because if you want to remember things, you actually got to go in the field. But unfortunately, most people think Medinecher means to get a book and, you know, just recite, regurgitate just what the words say and still not break why the words even came into being in the first place. When you go into Medinecher and you look at the temple walls, you'll notice that the symbol that's used the most used symbol basically lets you know where the culture is, what the culture is all about. If you were in Kemet right now, you look on the walls whenever anybody gets to take a trip to Kemet, you'll notice the most used symbol is the falcon, Heru. Heru symbolizes the rising sun. Anybody who's ready for ascension, such as the Insuditi or the king, his symbol is Heru. He always has Heru hovering above his head. Now, Heru symbolizes one who is ready for ascension to reach the star, reach the sun. So when you look on the walls and see Heru, that's letting you know the culture is basically focused on ascension and resurrection of the soul. So the language over those dynastic periods of thousands of years, when all the scribes or the artists were preserving this information, if you go and count, the most used symbol is the Ankh, which is symbol for life, and Heru, the symbol of ascension. So you got Ankh Heru. So that's basically that's just a quick hint to let you know that the culture is basically focused on everybody who's trying to ascend. So if you're dealing with Medinecher, it's basically dealing with ascension. Medinecher is not a language you go around on the street talking like. It's basically with a priestly language for those who are very serious for the ascension of their soul. The opposition now to Heru, as we all should know, is Seth. Seth referring to the opposition. Seth is the force that wants to keep you in the physical body. Seth is the force that doesn't want the soul to ascend, because Seth feeds off the soul while the soul is still here. So now you're like, okay, where are we today? We are in the year 2010. And everybody across the world is speaking English. So you're like, how can we have proof of evidence of what these spells have been doing to the population globally? The most used word in English is, guess what?
What?
Set. Set has 428 uses in the English language. Set is English, now lets you know it's a satanic language. The language is not dealing with ascension, it's dealing with keeping you here. You can Google it up. Google up what's the most used word in English, coincidentally, by mistake, I guess. It's set. Yeah, movie set, TV set, you can go through the list. I'm getting set up. You keep going how many times you can use that spell. So now this language basically is telling you that this language is for set. So you're in the age of darkness, and as I said, once you're in the age of darkness, you're under the rule of the moon, and you're under the rule of Set. Those two forces rule the nighttime until one day the sun will resurrect, or Heru, the golden days, will return one day. When the golden days return, the moon will also diminish. The moon cycle will end, and the sun cycle will reappear, or the sun will resurrect, or what they call resurrection today. So I'm just giving you a clue that this information might sound far-fetched. Mostly, as I said, the ancient languages make you use both sides of your brain. English makes you only use half a brain. So when you're trying to decipher this information in English, you're always going to use alpha brain, no matter how much once you get into Middle Nature, you actually get tired of English. That's how you know that you're doing good. Middle Nature, as I said, is the easiest language out of all the languages. It's not that hard to learn. It's the easiest. The first language has to be the easiest. Everything else is a little harder based on where it migrated to. But it's, as I said, you just have to realize that the times you're in, and everybody has to basically work on themselves. You can't wait for people to come, like, people to do things for you, or everybody had to work on their souls back then, and it's the same thing today. Everybody has to work on their souls now. Only if you're even conscious of your soul. Because most people, tell you the truth, they're really not even conscious of their souls. They're just more focused on their physical. As I said, the physical is a temporary, temporary occurrence. It doesn't last long. So that's why the ancestors were focused on what lasts forever, which was the soul.
Okay. We have 5 minutes left, y'all. Thanks for tuning in, Brother Raul. This brother truly, truly dropped it tonight. Appreciate the info. We're going to do exactly what we did yesterday. We're going to get into at least one phone call because we got so many. The phone lines is jam-packed, brother, as it was yesterday. We're going to get into at least one phone call tonight. 5 minutes left. Whoever gets this lucky phone call, please keep the question brief to give the brother enough opportunity to answer it thoroughly so we can wrap up the show and get ready for tomorrow. We're going to be here at the same time, 9:30 to 10:30. Okay, we're going to go to the phone lines. I got a caller from a 757 area code. You got your hand raised, 757-342. What is your question? How you doing?
What's up? It's Clico. What's good, Brother Rich and Brother Ramamar?
Peace.
What's up, bro? What's going on?
Hey, family. I was meditating one day on the word patah, and the word botanical came to me. And now tonight, when you was talking about carpenter and you got like patah, that made me get ba patah for botanical. Can you expound on that?
Botanical.
Yeah.
You basically, as I said, when you deal with the words, you got to break the words apart. So you're saying patah and ankle, botanical, ankle.
I was saying botanical, so I got like ba patah. Or soul of patah.
The soul of patah. I'm trying to expound on. See, that's an English word, right? That's not. You have to basically trace what that word Germanic. Is it Latin? You always have to, try to. First off, you got to always make sure you know where the word is. If the word is an English word, if the word is a Latin word, and then basically if it's a Hebrew word that became, they translated into English. But the words always give you a clue to its origin. And as I said, if you have the term patah in it, obviously it has to go back to where the origin of the word patah even came from. And another part of the spell is, I realize a lot of people say the spells, like they'll say patah, when you ask them why the ancestors even came up with the term patah, they could never explain that part. That takes the last level of breaking Middle Nature. Middle Nature, the last lesson you have to learn behind it is to break where the spell comes from. And I think tomorrow we're going to get into breaking, so like I did yesterday, I broke the origins of some of these spells. I'll basically break down examples of how the ancestors came up with these spells they did. You'll see how it's so easy, and it makes so much sense when you start figuring out how they just took one word and flipped it this way and add this to it, and it become a whole language. So I think tomorrow I'll basically get into the fact that you just brought that up and showing how I'll probably get into that starting tomorrow.
Okay. That's peace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks for the call, brother. Peace.
No doubt, man. Peace.
We're going to try to squeeze in one more call, Brother Raul. Caller from a 516-395 phone. Caller, are you there? Peace. Caller from 516-395. Are you there, caller? All right, he's not there. Caller from a 510-435. Caller, are you there?
Peace.
Peace. You got a question real quick, brother. We got 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I got a question. My question is about the Temple of Man.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about the magnetic frequencies that go on in there.
Brother, we got 2 minutes left, brother.
What sounds would they use in that temple, in those temples, to raise their vibration?
Well, when
connect with nature.
when you're referring to temple, you have to understand that the ancestors, the first temples were basically the human body. During the dynastic period, since they knew we would eventually forget that the gods live within the temple, which is yourself, they built temples in the shape of the human body. So now when you're dealing with forces that help the temple of man, you're dealing with the vowels of El. So now the sounds that help resonate within your temple are the A, E, A, O, U. So those would be major sounds that you probably want to look into, because all of those vibrations deal with certain glands in the temple of your body. So I would say look into the vowels, because that's why those symbols were sacred. That's why they never put any vowels into the whole language. So I would suggest you look into the vowels and realize why they were vowels to El, like keep secret. You're keeping a vow to not, tell anybody. Or El, which is the god of the underworld.
Cool.